Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to spend a quick moment saying a fond thank you and farewell to a staff member of mine who is leaving. My deep gratitude to Ashley Harrington, who is off to great adventures. Our sadness at her leaving is matched only by our excitement for her as she starts her next chapter. Thank you for your dedication, your humor, your invaluable skills. We are going to miss you throughout our entire office. I come here, Mr. President, today to speak in support of Suffolk County District Attorney Rachael Rollins, nominee to serve as United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. The fact that I and my Senate partner, Senator Warren, have to come to the floor at all in support of this qualified, respected, effective law enforcement official is a testimony to the unprecedented partisanship of my Republican colleagues. It's truly outrageous. Before I share more about District Attorney Rollins' record of accomplishment, a record that my Republican colleagues have intentionally distorted and mischaracterized, I want to explain how politically partisan this U.S. Attorney nomination process has become. In September, the Judiciary Committee held a roll call vote on Rachael Rollins' nomination to serve as U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. She was voted out of committee on an 11-11 vote. All Democrats voted aye. All Republicans opposed the nomination. With this vote, Judiciary Committee Republicans eviscerated a 3-decade precedent of voice votes for U.S. Attorney nominees for all 50 states, every single time. The committee had last held a roll call vote on a U.S. Attorney nominee in 1993. And based on a review of available materials, before the 117th Congress, the Judiciary Committee had only ever held a roll call vote on 3 U.S. Attorney nominees in 1993, 1982, and 1975. The Senate last required cloture on a U.S. Attorney nominee in 1993, but ultimately confirmed that nominee by voice vote. And listen to this, the Senate last held a roll call vote on the floor of the Senate on a U.S. Attorney nominee in 1975. We've held more impeachment votes on the floor of the Senate than votes on U.S. Attorney nominees since 1975. This obstruction of District Attorney Rollins' nomination is unwarranted, unfounded, and unprecedented. Let me underscore that last point. During the Trump administration, Judiciary Committee Democrats agreed to voice vote all 85 U.S. Attorney nominees who came before them, despite disagreements with multiple nominees' records and ideology. All 85 of those U.S. attorneys in the Trump era were processed by the Judiciary Committee and received a voice vote with no recorded opposition. And the Senate likewise confirmed all 85 by unanimous consent on the Senate floor during the Donald Trump era. The opposition to Rachael Rollins is nothing more than a deeply partisan ploy to score political points at the expense of the record of a respected, qualified, courageous, black, female, progressive district attorney. It is offensive, and it is not in service to public safety in Massachusetts or across our nation. Let me tell you about District Attorney Rachael Rollins and why her record has garnered support from all corners of the law enforcement community in Massachusetts and New England, and from Republicans and Democrats alike. District Attorney Rollins has public safety in her blood. Her father, a second-generation Irish-American, fought in the Vietnam War and later worked as a corrections officer. Her maternal grandparents are from Barbados and her mother is a first-generation American. She represents the very best of what this country is all about: opportunity, public service, and plain old hard work. As the district attorney for the county encompassing Boston and surrounding cities, District Attorney Rollins has a demonstrated record of success as a prosecutor. She leads an office of 300 employees, including more than 150 lawyers, who handle 25,000 new criminal case filings and 1,000 criminal investigations annually. She leads a very busy office efficiently and effectively. On the most serious crimes, her record is unassailable. In 2019, Rollins' first full year in office, the homicide unit's number of completed trials increased by 21%. Boston homicides declined by 31% in 2019, making it the lowest number in decades. And she aggressively prosecutes drug trafficking. Between January 1st, 2021, and October 12th, 2021, just this year, the Suffolk County DA's office has prosecuted 147 trafficking cases. Of those cases, 98 involved charges of trafficking fentanyl, accounting for 67% of total drug trafficking prosecutions. District Attorney Rollins has prosecuted more drug traffickers than her predecessor. I have personally met with and talked with District Attorney Rollins on multiple occasions about the opioid epidemic that is being fueled by fentanyl. There is no one more dedicated to ending that scourge than she is. She is committed to using the DA's office to hold fentanyl drug traffickers fully accountable, and her record proves that. Her record on investigations is equally remarkable. In 2020, the homicide unit expanded its investigations by 44%. The major felony unit increased its by 22%. The human trafficking and exploitation unit by 19%, and the special prosecutions unit by 33%. Under District Attorney Rollins' leadership, her office is as active as it has ever been in going after the most serious crimes in Suffolk County. But her excellence doesn't end there. District Attorney Rollins has demonstrated a commitment to working with law enforcement to advance community safety and build trust between the community and law enforcement officers. She and her office are a true partner for colleagues, and it is reflected in the coordination that they prioritize. In June of 2020, she organized a key discussion with law enforcement executives from Greater Boston to have an open dialogue about policing practices in light of the racial reckoning that followed the murder of George Floyd. With her leadership, District Attorney Rollins and the law enforcement executives signed a letter committing to change and ensuring that there would be open communication on that topic. District Attorney Rollins recognized the historic moment law enforcement was confronting in the wake of the Floyd murder, and she actively reached out to her law enforcement partners to show a united front in their commitment to justice. Rachael Rollins is proof that you can enforce laws and promote justice, and that the community wants both. As a result of this leadership, the Suffolk County law enforcement executives wrote a letter in support of her nomination to serve as U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. And in that letter, they highlighted the respect she has for the work they do to keep communities safe. And in the wake of two incidents of hate against the Jewish community that occurred this summer, District Attorney Rollins led the response, using the resources of her office to investigate the incidents transparently and fully. She personally ensured that there would be a focus on this issue. She attended vigils for both events to ensure that there would be a commitment that was heard, that the safety of the communities that had been directly impacted would be protected. In a letter from the Anti-Defamation League of New England, it said of her actions, quote, "In the aftermath of the incidents, she demonstrated true allyship and solidarity with the affected communities. The importance of her commitment to this ideal cannot be overstated." Rachael Rollins is a prosecutor at her core, but she also believes in restorative justice and is one of Massachusetts' greatest advocates for victims of crime. The local organizations that advocate for the rights of victims and their families, including Mothers for Justice and Equality, the Children's Advocacy Center of Suffolk County, the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center, and the Boston Medical Center Violence Intervention Advocacy Program all wrote letters in support of Rollins' nomination. Mothers for Justice wrote that District Attorney Rollins, quote, "determination to bring to justice those who commit crimes against community is needed at the highest levels of federal prosecution." The Children's Advocacy Center of Suffolk County describes her as a leader who clearly prioritizes the needs of children and families, bringing an approach that is both victim-centered and squarely focused on offender accountability. District Attorney Rollins is clear-eyed in her commitment to justice. Justice for victims, justice for families, justice for children, and justice for the communities that have not historically benefited from a system that has punished color, class, and creed. She is working to restore faith in the system by building a system that works for everyone. Before she was district attorney, from 2007 to 2011, she served as Assistant United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. There, she prosecuted civil and criminal cases, defended the federal government and agencies in civil suits, and recovered damages for fraud and false claims submitted to the government. Based on this record, she has the support of many law enforcement organizations and political leaders. About District Attorney Rollins, a group of several current and former major city police wrote, "We do not always get along. In fact, we have disagreed strongly on issues. But we can say is that she respects us in the work we do to keep our community safe. She can admit when she is wrong. She can also be incredibly persuasive when she is right. The constant throughout every encounter we have is a mutual respect and a willingness to learn from each other." So, for my Republican colleagues, let me share the bottom line statistic. Crime is down in Boston. Despite the continued rise in crime nationwide in 2021, murders in Boston have dropped by 1/3 so far this year. According to data from the Boston Police Department, there have been 32 homicides in the first 9 months of 2021, down from 45 homicides this time last year. Murder is down in Boston. The city also saw a decrease in many types of violent crime, including domestic assault. Property crimes, such as auto thefts and burglary, are also down in the city of Boston during her tenure as our district attorney. We know there is much more work to be done to ensure public safety and to promote justice. But under District Attorney Rollins' leadership, Boston is on the right trajectory. Most of what we have heard from my Republican colleagues in the committee hearing and out here on the floor is simply untrue. Suffolk County District Attorney Rachael Rollins is a strong black woman committed to racial justice with a better record on crime than other old school prosecutors, and it just plain scares them. Her approach scares them because it's working in Boston. It can be a model for the rest of the country. Rachael Rollins is not soft on crime. She is smart on crime. Yes, District Attorney Rollins is a progressive prosecutor, but more importantly, she is an effective prosecutor. Her extensive law enforcement credentials and proven track record on reducing crime and supporting victims is clear, and it is undeniable. She is the right candidate for U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts, and Senator Warren and I deeply and proudly recommend her to the Senate for confirmation. I have known District Attorney Rollins since she babysat for my brother's family. She is a dear friend and a love friend, and I have been so fortunate to know her. And Massachusetts has been so fortunate to have her as one of our top law enforcement officials. She is one of the smartest, most effective, most respected leaders in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and her record proves that unequivocally. Despite the Republican effort to politicize her nomination and mischaracterize her record, I am confident that she will be confirmed as our next United States Attorney. I urge all of my colleagues to vote yes on this discharge petition motion, as unnecessary as it should be, and to support the confirmation of Rachael Rollins as the next United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield back.